Hi, everyone. So I just wanted to talk a little bit about PMDD. What that is post-menstrual dystrophic disorder. I got a new kitten, by the way, and this is her, and she's like 6 weeks old. Isn't she cute? Her name is Raven, and she is vicious. But so I'm going to talk a little bit about PMDD and how it affects my life. Um, so it was actually misdiagnosed for years. I didn't even know what PMDD was until probably like 4, maybe 5 years ago. Um, and it was originally misdiagnosed as bipolar, as well as borderline personality disorder, because I had just these huge, major mood swings. So, a little bit about what PMDD is like. Um, First of all, when it happens, it's only the week before your menstrual cycle. So it's literally just those 7 days before. I found that once the individual starts menstruating, then the hormones go back to normal and you're no longer like experiencing PMDD symptoms. Um, So it's only like 1 week out of the month, which is crazy, and also why it was misdiagnosed for a really, really, really long time. I didn't even really know that PMDD was a thing, to be honest. I didn't know about it until I was working with a therapist whose daughter had PMDD, and she had me track um, all of my symptoms in correlation with my period. And I did that for about a year, and we realized that I was only really suicidal and having like life-threatening crisis moments the week before my period. The rest of the month, I was perfectly stable, um, which was crazy because like I also have chronic depression. So for me to be stable throughout the month is really great. But what sucks is once a month, there's always this 1 week that is literal fucking hell. Um, the reason I started getting help was because my PMDD was completely out of control. I was letting it affect relationships. I wasn't letting it affect relationships. I just didn't really know how to cope with it. Um, so for a while, I didn't have any coping skills, and all I knew is that once a month, actually, I didn't even know it was once a month. It was just like sometimes I'm a different fucking person. So here's what some of my symptoms look like that are common PMDD symptoms. So like I said, I get really suicidal. And I'm stable throughout the rest of the month despite my depression because of my coping skills. Um, I go into blackout, lashing out rage. I have hit people during these episodes. I have put holes in walls, kicking and punching. Um, I've hit brick walls. I've done a lot of really not nice things during PMDD bouts because I'm a different person. I don't have any impulse control, and I go from 0 to 60 like that. It's literally, you can look at me wrong, and then I'm screaming at you and trying to fight you, and that's not who I am at all. Because the thing is, like, the rest of the month, like, I am a very compassionate, caring, funny, charismatic person. I'm very stable. I'm not suicidal at all. I generally like really love my life. But for that 1 week, I'm a different person. It's hard for me to drive anywhere because of how suicidal I get. I always think about like driving my car like off a bridge or something. So there are some things that I've learned in order to cope with the PMDD and not let it run my life. So the biggest thing for me is I still track my period religiously. For whatever reason, there is huge power in knowing, oh, okay, I'm acting like this because it's the week before my period. That literally changed everything for me, because the only answer I had before that was like, I'm fucking crazy and there's something really, really wrong with me. And apparently I need hospitalized again, even though I've been really stable. So it was a matter of learning that, it was a matter of learning why it was happening that helps me talk my way through it. Because once I realize, oh, I'm acting like this because it's the week before my period, then I can follow that up immediately with everything's going to be okay because in a few days, I won't feel like this anymore. Because what a lot of people deal with, myself included, is the way that I feel right now in this moment is generally how I think I'm going to feel for the rest of my entire whole life. And that's not the case at all. Feelings change. Your viewpoint changes, right? So part of the other thing with PMDD and kind of learning to live with it, it is, so like with depression, it's only neurochemical. It's just a like deficit of serotonin in your neurochemistry. Okay. So with PMDD, number one, it's not very well researched. That's part of the problem too. I have had an OBGYN tell me that there's no such thing. And he's full of shit, because if it's not PMDD, then I'm just, have more issues than most the week before my period. But I've read tons of stuff where it's affecting people's lives. People will like file for divorce the week before. Like the rage and the emotions just get so intense that it's very easy for anyone going through it to like completely tear their life down. And that's what's really scary about it, because when it's almost like afterwards you kind of come to and you realize what you've done and like it's done. So because of that, I've made a rule for myself that I do not make any major life changes the week before my period. I don't quit jobs. I don't end relationships. I don't end like teammate collabs. Like I will not make any major decisions the week before my period. Because I can't. I don't think rationally, and that's part of the problem. So it's the neurochemistry bit, but with PMDD, it affects neurochemistry, but it's also hormonal. So in order to find good treatment, you have to have both like a therapist and an OB on board. So that's currently one of the things that I'm going through, is because I take an antidepressant like year round, daily, but the week before my period, I'm still suicidal even on my antidepressant. So there's a couple things that people have tried with me. At one point I tried like upping my medicine for the week before, but that didn't really work at all because of the way that the antidepressant like affects your brain. It would take like 1 to 3 weeks for it to get into your system, for like that extra dosage to get into your system anyway. So it's kind of a moot point. The other thing that is suggested is birth control. And so I had an IUD at one point, and I had it taken out and went through a like major hormonal shift that was absolutely horrifying. So I'm super afraid of, excuse me, I'm super afraid of hormones. Also, like when I had my son and like the whole time that I was pregnant, basically anytime my hormones are super messed with or go out of whack, I pretty much go off the deep end, which is why I have the PMDD, because the week before my menstrual cycle, my body is like prepping up for menstruation and my hormones are out of whack. And because my hormones are out of whack and there's something neurochemical going on in my brain, I'm a different person the week before my period. I have been fired for my behavior the week before my period during the PMDD episodes. I've received disciplinary action at work for my PMDD episodes. And I've ruined relationships with PMDD episodes. So it's incredibly important for me to have those boundaries. So it's really important for me to have those boundaries and not make any life-changing decisions or really big decisions the week before. So that's kind of what having PMDD has been like. It's pretty horrifying. There is really only one thing that's been helping me. And I'm not going to go into detail into that because it's controversial itself. But it's the only thing I've gotten to help me. So another thing with PMDD is that since now I own my own business, I get to make my own schedule, which is fantastic because previously, like in corporate America, I had been waiting for FMLA eligibility so that I could take off a day or two each month the week before. Because some days, basically it gets worse the closer it gets to my period. So really just like the 2 days before are hell in a fucking handbasket, and I just shouldn't really be around people. But so that was one of the things that I was trying to do when I was in corporate America. And so since that didn't fly, what I ended up doing from a suggestion from a friend is I'm not scheduling client calls the week before. Because the week before is going to be dedicated to self-care. So I think that's really, really beneficial for me because I can still get computer work done, but I'm not locked into client calls. I'm not taking on that extra energy when I'm an empath, and it's really difficult for me to cope with anything the week before my period when I'm going through PMDD episodes. So that's another thing that I do. So I hope that this video was helpful for you. PMDD is not very well researched, and there are very few people really publicly speaking about it. I know one other person in real life with PMDD, and she doesn't talk about it. Not that that's good or bad. I'm just saying that there's so much more awareness needed, that it is a real thing, especially with the experience that I had with my OBGYN telling me that it basically doesn't exist, and that like my hormones can't make me feel that crazy. But he was also a belittling douchewagon from the beginning. So, I mean, there's that. But like I said, I hope that this helps you. I hope that this gives you some awareness and sheds some light on what it's like to have PMDD. I have talked to some other people who really believe that they struggle with the same thing since I've been open about it for so many months. If you have mood swings, My biggest suggestion to you is track your period. Track your period. Even if it's not consistent, I'm very, very fortunate that mine are like clockwork. They are now. They used to not be. But mine are like very every 28 days, like on the dot. And that's why my PMDD episodes are so predictable for me, because like from day 7 to day 1 before my period, I'm a nervous wreck. Um, so definitely track your period and track your moods in correlation with your period. Even if you don't think that you have PMDD, it might still give you some insight to like what's happening in your brain the week before and how to adjust appropriately for that. One of my friends, Gabby Bogan, actually did this really amazing bundle on like basically managing your time and your like monthly activities for your business, like around your entire menstrual cycle. So like that's pretty amazing. Like I said, I hope it helps. Let me know. Let me know if you've ever had any experience with it. Please, because like I said, I really haven't talked to many people that have. I've talked to one person who had it before like I met her. And then I've had like 2 people come to me and say like, I think this is what's going on. Like, thank you for talking about it. But that's really like the only interaction that I've had with it. So it is a real thing. It only affects, I think, like 8% of menstruating people. But it's definitely important to know about and to learn about. So I hope that helps, and I will talk to you all later. Make sure you let me know if you have heard anything or know of awesome resources or anything like that.